On Rockwell's recommendation, I've headed south to start an in-depth study of the island's marine life, with the help of a tribe called the Painted Sharks. Because the ecosystem of the ocean that surrounds the island is separate from the ecosystem on the mainland, correlating patterns between them might help me isolate and understand this island's scientific abnormalities. Also, after freezing my ass off for so long, I could really use an extended stay on a tropical island. Marine biology was never my strongest field, but I do love the ocean. If nothing else, it should be beautiful there. Arguably the deadliest creature on the island, Tyrannosaurus dominum is a killing machine. Active mostly when hunting for food or defending its nest, a good plan is to avoid every Tyrannosaurus. It is pure power, from its stomp to its tail. It is not able to intimidate every foe with its roar, but upon hearing it, it might scare the poop out of you. Quite literally. Despite being a different subspecies of Tyrannosaurus, everyone I've met still refers to them as a Rex or a T-Rex. I've long since stopped trying to convince anyone, especially the few who I've encountered wearing Tyrannosaurus teeth as necklaces. Taming a Tyrannosaurus is without a doubt the goal for any warlord or warring tribe. Tyrannosaurus is a fierce battle companion. There is a reason Tyrannosaurus is considered the king of dinosaurs, or in this genus, the Lord. Any tribe that manages to tame one has almost nothing to fear.
This expedition to White Sky Peak has been just splendid, top to bottom. The weather's been marvellous, I've found excellent floral samples, and the local hunters had more woolly rhino horns than you could shake a stick at. I even managed to find volunteers for my latest experiment. It turns out that it was simply a matter of linguistics. Those who are wary of experimental potions are much more receptive to experimental food. Once my endothermic paste was rechristened Freer Curry, people were clamouring to test it. It has moderate nutritional value, so it's not technically a deception. It's just favourable language in the name of progress, that's all. Perfectly moral.
I really need to visit Rockwell more. It's so energizing to be around someone of his experience that still has so much excitement for his work. And talking to him always helps me gain perspective. As for the island's ecological abnormalities, Rockwell reassured me that I was jumping to conclusions. He made a great point. Just because this place doesn't follow the scientific laws we're used to, doesn't mean it follows no scientific laws at all. After all, science is about discovery, and new discoveries can invalidate old principles. So before I latch onto my theory, I need to gather more empirical evidence. Otherwise, I'm no scientist. Here is another example of a creature that seems to have evolved beyond its historical traits. Everything points to this being a saltwater ray, but Manta mobila has developed the ability to swim into the island's rivers and shallows, as well as through the open ocean. Perhaps there were originally two types of ray on the island before, but years of interbreeding combined their lineage. Normally docile, Manta mobila is a carnivore only in that it naturally consumes plankton. Fortunately, Manta mobila is usually not aggressive, unless encroached. Its tail is incredibly sharp and can pierce through thick hide and armor with ease. While not the fastest swimmer around the island, Manta mobila is among the deadliest of small ocean mounts. Tribes who value striking power over speed often keep large schools of manta to ride. Its capability to briefly leap out of water provides it a showy tactic for avoiding combat as well. A quick jab through the heart of an unsuspecting survivor can easily take them by surprise. Thusly, many tribes use it as an escort for their slower cargo-carrying swimmers.
I admit there are times when it is useful to live among simpletons. For example, I was able to trade several gallons of my Lazarus chowder to a group of hunters in exchange for an entire contingent of tamed Gigantopithecus, and they never questioned whether it had been tested on humans yet. Well, I suppose if they return with another batch of apes, then I'll know that Lazarus chowder doesn't cause asphyxiation, won't I? It's not exactly a conclusive scientific trial, but I suppose it will serve. Unfortunately, all these primitive primates have given Rockwell Manor quite the pungent odor. Isabel said she is working on some sort of air freshener, but I hope she makes haste.
Megaloceros latticecoronum is a very skittish herbivore, found mostly in the forests and mountains of the island. Because of its large size, its fraught demeanor would be strange in any other place. But Megaloceros knows how fierce the predators of the island are, and that it is safer to flee from them than to risk its life in a fight. The antlers of Megaloceros are very large, and make for an excellent source of keratin. This, of course, makes it a valuable resource. Unfortunately, Hunting Megaloceros is not easy because of their quick speed and ability to bound over most obstacles. Megaloceros is a jack-of-all-trades creature, and many who ride it value its versatility. It is decently powerful, and its resilience, speed, and ability to jump often come in handy. Finally, the male Megaloceros charging horn attack tends to cause targets to bleed, decreasing their health, stamina, and speed until healed. Pteranodon wyvernus is a large pterosaur, capable of flying more quickly than any creature I have witnessed on this island thus far. It seems to have relatively poor stamina in comparison to its quick speed, however, making frequent pit stops on the beaches before taking off again. While other humans I've seen on the island still insist on calling it a pterodactyl, this is inaccurate. Pteranodon wyvernus' poor fighting and defensive skills mean they are likely to scavenge any number of dead animals, rather than engage in dangerous combat with other creatures. They also flee at the slightest sign of trouble. Because of this, they are one of the most common creatures to be found darting across the island's skies. Pteranodons seem to be among the most popular flying companions from what I have witnessed, possibly because they are relatively easy to tame with a slingshot or bow. Mounting a pteranodon must be among the fastest and safest ways to get around the island, but it doesn't provide any measure of secrecy in comparison to travel on land through the dense foliage. The first marsupial I've encountered on the island is the Prosoptodon vivancurus. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, it is among the largest jumping creatures I've heard of. It is a fairly peaceful herbivore that will immediately flee when aggressed upon. One of the Prosoptodon's most unique features is its pouch. Unlike many pouched marsupials, Prosoptodon's pouch is relatively dry and has little in the way of sticky or oily fluids. I assume this is good for the joey, but I have not figured out exactly why yet. Its other unique feature, powerful hind legs, can knock back aggression much larger in stature. Prosoptodons show great precision when leaping, as if they can accurately target the landing without fail. I've seen them effortlessly hop and land from heights that would flatten other creatures. It seems Prosoptodon's knack for carrying things has increased its load-bearing capacity. Prosoptodon's dry pouch makes it an excellent beast of burden that can carry far more than any other creatures of its size. Additionally, it appears to provide an optimal environment for nourishing babies, so much that upon maturing, they have even more vigor. Since arriving on the island, I have encountered dozens of fascinating creatures whose behavior has never been studied or documented. And also sheep. Granted, Ovis arcum is quite different from the modern domesticated sheep. and even from wild sheep species such as Ovis orientalis. The unique markings on its face give it a striking appearance, and the male's horns possess a unique shape that is unlike any other species in the Ovis genus. As one might expect, Ovis stands little chance against the island's many predators. Like the dodo, its continued survival in the face of these challenges is a mystery. Some survivors have found herds of Ovis to be useful in farm life. Their wool can be repeatedly safely shorn with the proper tools, and cooked lamb chops are a popular dish among some tribes, as is their hyper-nutritious mutton. Every now and then, a survivor with a sense of humour will attempt to utilise Ovis as a mount, although the joke becomes significantly less funny once their slow Ovis is run down by a pack of raptors. One tribe has grown particularly attached to Ovis, perhaps uncomfortably so. I don't know the tribe's actual name, but I refer to them as sheep lovers. Since arriving on the island, I have encountered dozens of fascinating creatures whose behaviour has never been studied or documented. And also sheep. Granted, Ovis arcum is quite different from the modern domesticated sheep, and even from wild sheep species such as Ovis orientalis. The unique markings on its face give it a striking appearance, and the male's horns possess a unique shape that is unlike any other species in the Ovis genus. As one might expect, Ovis stands little chance against the island's many predators. Like the dodo, its continued survival in the face of these challenges is a mystery. Some survivors have found herds of Ovis to be useful in farm life. Their wool can be repeatedly safely shorn with the proper tools, and cooked lamb chops are a popular dish among some tribes, as is their hyper-nutritious mutton. Every now and then, a survivor with a sense of humour will attempt to utilise Ovis as a mount, although the joke becomes significantly less funny once their slow Ovis is run down by a pack of raptors. One tribe has grown particularly attached to Ovis, perhaps uncomfortably so. I don't know the tribe's actual name, but I refer to them as sheep lovers. Since arriving on the island, I have encountered dozens of fascinating creatures whose behavior has never been studied or documented. And also sheep. Granted, Ovis arcum is quite different from the modern domesticated sheep, and even from wild sheep species such as Ovis orientalis. The unique markings on its face give it a striking appearance, and the male's horns possess a unique shape that is unlike any other species in the Ovis genus. As one might expect, Ovis stands little chance against the island's many predators. Like the dodo, its continued survival in the face of these challenges is a mystery. Some survivors have found herds of Ovis to be useful in farm life. Their wool can be repeatedly safely shorn with the proper tools, and cooked lamb chops are a popular dish among some tribes, as is their hyper-nutritious mutton. Every now and then, a survivor with a sense of humour will attempt to utilise Ovis as a mount, although the joke becomes significantly less funny once their slow Ovis is run down by a pack of raptors. One tribe has grown particularly attached to Ovis, perhaps uncomfortably so. I don't know the tribe's actual name, but I refer to them as sheep lovers.
After much deliberation, I have decided to accept Mr. Nerva's offer. True, the new legion is not beloved by many other tribes, but was Charlemagne beloved by his enemies? If my studies are to continue, I must be on the right side of history. As part of our agreement, I will need to travel with Mr. Nerva for a time and wait to study the obelisks until the new legion has taken care of some smaller matters of foreign policy. As such, I have left Rockwell Manor in Isabel's charge. She will take excellent care of it, I'm sure. Well then, on to new frontiers. Excelsior! I am absolutely astonished, shocked, flabbergasted. Why in the world was Miss Walker investigating the obelisks at the side of such a savage woman and without notifying me first? Was she intending to discover their secrets behind my back and keep them all to herself? The nerve! The audacity! And after I treated her with such respect and civility... Well, unfortunately for her, Sir Edmund Rockwell is always one step ahead of his rivals. Thanks to my partnership with Mr. Nerva, I can combine what scraps of knowledge she has on the obelisks with my own findings, and she'll be none the wiser. Why? Since she is confined to a cage, I can keep my presence concealed from her altogether.
Helena, you're a dipstick. Going through my notes, I've realized that there are more predators than prey across this entire island by almost double. That's the opposite of how any ecosystem is supposed to work. I can't believe it took a Tyrannosaurus frolicking through the snow for me to see this. It's plain as day. What to make of it? Add in the human factor, and it's impossible for this island to continue as it is by natural means. So, what? Is this island's wildlife being monitored and curated somehow? I should speak with Rockwell. Maybe he's come to a similar conclusion. There's nothing special about the diet of these tame creatures when compared to their wild counterparts. Part of that is the Beast Queen's doing, as she takes them on regular hunting excursions for training purposes. Curiously, they never have to range too far. There is an abundance of prey nearby, despite the size of her pack. That this is held true, regardless of her domesticated creature's remarkable birth and growth rates, makes it even more unusual. Oh, and I did finally get her name. Lee, found mostly in marshes and jungles, Achatina limusegnis is a very slow, very non-threatening land mollusk. It might be the simplest creature on the island to hunt, and while it only provides a small amount of meat and chitin, an easy meal is always of value on the island. Unlike nearly every other creature on the island, Achatina does not defecate normally. Instead, it secretes a thick, sticky substance. Achatina leaves trails of this slime, but the trails are so thin that they crumble to dust quickly. Legend has it that Achatina can be tamed with a special cake made from harvested crops and resources. There is a very disgusting but useful fact about Achatina that causes tribes to seek to tame them. Its secretions are chemically similar to the cementing paste and organic polymer used by many tribes for building materials. Tamed Achatina naturally accumulates this slime over time, which can then be collected at the tribe's convenience. Quite possibly the most intelligent non-human creature on the island, Trudon magnanimus is an incredibly fast learner. It understands meaningful experiences much faster than other creatures, including humans, and its social nature means it also teaches its packmates, making them smarter too. If Trudon's cleverness didn't make it formidable, then its tactics and biology would. It specifically pack hunts at night when we are most vulnerable and sees humans as its primary prey. This audacity is made especially dangerous due to its serrated fang's poison, which drains stamina from any creature, but outright paralyzes humans. Thankfully, Trudon is fairly small. Were it larger, it might well have become the dominant creature of its ecosystem. I thought Trudon simply could not be tamed, until I finally saw a lone survivor with one. She told me that she let Trudy hunt a few of her tribe's smaller creatures for sport, and it eventually started following her everywhere. It seems that while Trudon is too intelligent for the rote conditioning of trank and feed, it can instead gradually gain loyalty from a social approach that provides it with the opportunity to hunt. Ever since, I have wondered at the benefits which a pack of ultra-smart, bred-for-battle Trudon may bring to a tribe brave enough to earn the favour of these clever carnivores. Among the few carnivores on the island that can match tyrannosaurs in size, Spinosaurus aquarellida does not match its ferocity. Spinosaur's 4 legs and large sail make it fairly swift on land and incredibly fast in the water. Its marvel is arguably the ability to change stances by going from quadruped to biped. The creature is visually distinguished by its spectacular sail. In my travels, I have seen many different and brightly coloured sails, as every Spinosaurus appears to have a slightly different palette. The one comforting fact about Spinosaurus is that it seems more at home near water than away from it. Although the creature is more powerful, faster, agile, and insatiable while in water, it tends to become less hostile as it gets farther from it. On one occasion, I only escaped a Spinosaurus by getting far enough from its lake home to make it simply lose interest. Spinosaurus is an incredibly well-rounded apex carnivore, faster than a Tyrannosaurus in water, and able to travel on land unlike a megalodon. Its all-terrain versatility may be unrivaled. Although its movement speed is slower in a biped stance, it gains considerable attacking strength and mobility in this form. For hunters who wish to have a well-rounded mount, Spinosaurus may be the ideal choice, if they can acquire one. Stegosaurus regium has approximately 16 paired rows of plates along its back. flanked by another, smaller pair of 6 plates. This is contrary to the alternating rows on Stegosaurus fossils I've seen in museums. Not surprisingly, Stegosaurus uses the spines on its tail to defend itself. While not aggressive, Stegosaurus will come to the aid of another nearby Stegosaurus. This implies it to be a herd animal. Stegosaurus is commonly used as a safe way to transport large quantities of goods, and once you saddle one up, not even an Argentavis could knock you off that perch. A Stegosaurus can be trained to flex its back plates for different purposes, hardened to shield it from attack, in a heavier alignment that deals crippling blows, or oriented more sharply to pierce armor. These various plate configurations also come in handy for stripping wood from trees, gathering thatch, or foraging for wild berries, respectively. Stegosaurus can knock back or impale with a whip of its spiky tail, keeping predators at bay or pinning them in place. Its spiked appendage also helps for gathering berries. Go figure. Among the island's most tenacious pack is Hyenodon dirus, a carnivore most often found across the mountains and tundras in packs of 3 to 6. Hyenodon is a very intelligent predator. Before engaging, it determines if the payoff for a fight is worth the risk of injury. Hyenodon often prefers not to fight unless there is an already weakened prey or a fresh carcass nearby. This temperament changes quickly, though, near the presence of injured creatures. Hyenodon quickly becomes very aggressive, and the pack attacks with ruthless abandon. With each vicious chomp of scavenged meat, the Hyenodon rapidly recovers health and stamina. Despite being too small to ride, Hyenodon are still popular pets. Their intelligence means they train well, and their natural pack mentality makes them possessing the appearance of a half-duck, half-dinosaur. Hesperornis is a medium-sized fish-eating bird, common in the rivers and lakes of the island. It would be about 2/3 the height of a human if it stood tall, but it rarely does. Hesperornis spends most of its time gliding along the surface of the water, where it is much more maneuverable. Hesperornis is barely a threat to any land-dwelling creature, as its legs are too short for it to move around effectively. But it is surprisingly fast in the water. It can easily hunt down fish and other small water. Megalania muraspeed is among the largest creatures found throughout the island's complicated cave networks. Reaching up to 3 meters long, it can traverse vertically up cave walls with little difficulty, thanks to its powerful claws. Fortunately, Megalania's size means it is unlikely to sneak up on anyone. Unfortunately for spelunkers, it is an aggressive and dangerous creature nonetheless. Like other Varanidae, Megalania is a venomous creature. Its poison is slow-acting, but will drain the victim's effective strength and health until death, unless cured by a rare antidote. That said, the Megalania's prey are usually ripped apart well before they succumb to the poison's long-term effects. The rare ability of Megalania to effortlessly climb sheer environmental walls makes it a highly sought-after mount. While it is by no means the fastest, strongest, or toughest mount, the manner in which it can effortlessly scale mountains, clamber up barricades, hide in trees, or upside down, ensures it will always have a place in any tribe's stables. Apparently a crossbreed of Triceratops and Styracosaurus, Triceratops styrax has both the characteristic three-horned face of Triceratops and the prominent horned ridge of Styracosaurus. Normally a very docile grazing animal, Triceratops becomes aggressive once angered. Triceratops will chase down would-be predators and egg stealers with incredible prejudice. Running away from Triceratops is harder than it seems due to its ability to charge and ram its target. I've seen Triceratops have an especially hostile reaction to the Tyrannosaurus, with herds attacking en masse. While not very fast, they are deadly in a group. A common mount for those that ride dinosaurs, Triceratops doubles as pack animal and combat dinosaur. Triceratops' bony ridge works excellently as cover from frontal attack, and the dinosaur's charge is incredibly dangerous. It is largely protective of its kind if it senses danger. In the presence of larger carnivores that appear as a threat, Triceratops becomes stronger and rallies the effort of its nearby species. It is also capable of harvesting a sizable amount of resources with its horns by shredding fruit from the leaves, making it a very useful work companion for smaller tribes. I'd been holding out for a change in weather before studying the wildlife of this island's peculiar tundra region. But I think it's safe to say that it's not forthcoming. Clearly this planet has no axial tilt, and therefore no seasons. That ice and snow isn't melting anytime soon. Can't say I'm happy about it. The cold and I are not the best of mates, I can tell you that. But I'll just have to suck it up. The climate during the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods that many of this island's creatures hail from was fairly uniform, so an Arctic region is quite the oddity. It'd be plain stubborn of me not to have a look around. Among the bottom of the island's dinosaur food chain is a small herbivore called Pegomastex fructurator. It is content to spend all day alone, gorging itself on far more food than you might reasonably expect for a creature of its tiny stature. Its beak appears perfectly evolved for collecting food from plants, while avoiding the indigestible fibrous strands. Pegomastex is likely to ignore any nearby creature and continue foraging, unless it's attacked, at which point it turns into a very aggressive, though rather unthreatening opponent, shrieking and whooping far above its actual threat level. You would expect a creature this small and weak to live in flocks, but Pegomastex seems to be fairly solitary in nature. While not pretty and far too small to ride, tribes often keep Pegomastex around as a kind of farming aid. Its skill at scavenging means that it collects an extraordinary quantity of seeds and berries, while also handily gathering the rare flowers, mushrooms, and other ingredients necessary to cook up unusual concoctions. I'm not sure why, but the giant scorpions I've seen on the island are far more disturbing than most of the dinosaurs. Rather than simply kill its prey, Pulmonoscorpius gigantus injects its victims with a tranquilizing poison, then eats its unconscious prey alive. This subspecies has a large pair of pincers that seem connected to the same toxin sacs as the tail. I've never seen another scorpion that has this adaptation, but I've never seen another scorpion that's larger than I am either. Trying to tame a monster like Pulmonoscorpius gigantus sounds like a crazy idea, but I suppose the ability to knock out a foe could come in handy. It could certainly make incapacitating some of the island's other creatures much easier.